Okay, so deploying a Golang Lambda is a common thing that comes up. Now, there's lots of different ways to do it, and if you were doing something that was quite intense and complicated, you'd probably be more likely to use something like SAM or serverless to manage it. But what we're looking for is a use case where we just want to deploy a very basic hello world style Lambda and get it running in AWS. So the first thing we need to do is go in, and now we're going to call our Lambda uh, blog hello world example. So nothing fancy there. It's going to be in Go, and that's everything we need. So just going to create this function. And as you can see, we successfully created a new function. Now, the important part here to note is the handler is just set to hello by default. So we're going to use that. So if we go back over, we want to now create our basic hello world lambda. Now, as you can see, it doesn't do an awful lot. All it does is print out the string hello world from Golang Lambda. So go into Visual Studio Code, create a new file called main.go. Paste it in. And then the second file we need to do is a Makefile. So Makefile is just run a little series of bash commands to save us having to type it in manually each time. And thankfully I've already created one here we can use. So what the Makefile does is it runs the Go build, it outputs it to hello. So that's a handler name that Amazon's expecting. We zip it up, and then we use the AWS CLI to update the function code and pass that zip file in that we just created. Now, before we can do that, we are using a couple of dependencies in Golang. So we've got one for events and one for Lambda. We probably don't need them for this example, but they're so common it's better to include them. Now there's three commands we need. So we need to run the go mod init command, just pass through an example domain that we're going to work with, and go and fetch the two dependencies. Just create your go mod in your go sum file. And now all we need to do to run our Makefile is type in make deploy. And again, if we have a quick look at our Makefile, we can see here's our deploy, and it just runs through these commands. Now, we are also assuming that you've already got your AWS CLI set up, and credentials are in there so you can connect to it. You run make deploy, you just wait a little second. We can see that the function is being created. It's in progress, and it gives us a revision ID. Now, if we go back into Amazon, we want to refresh, or rather test. Go to test. We've got a test event. There's nothing fancy, just pass through some sample JSON. Have a quick look through, and you can see that we are now outputting our string hello world from Golang Lambda. And that's the string that we've got in our hello world script. So now we can run a very basic Lambda. We can start to extend it out more. We've got this Makefile, so if you're using a deployment pipeline, you can just slot this Makefile in there, and it'll build and deploy it. Over time, you might want to add in things like linters and some automated testing in this in your pipeline. But this is like the very bog standard hello world style deployment, which should serve as a solid foundation for your Golang Lambda needs.